This is my good friend and colleague, Paul Kirschbaum. I'm Leslie Wooten. It's 10:33. Let's get into it. Today's topic, upselling. I think it's a very hot topic at all times, a very popular topic, something that we're asked about for consulting and training all the time. So let's just start off with a very basic question. Paul, what is upselling?
Upselling is basically trying to increase your ticket average.
Okay.
Average, whatever you want to put it.
So what does increasing your ticket average mean? Let's dive in even more specific.
Increasing ticket average or check average is to make the restaurant and yourself more money. We had we did one of these on tipping, and this is a direct link to it. We talked about, do we tip in percentages? Almost all people tip in percentages.
Yeah.
So how do you make more money? Upselling, ticket average.
Yeah, so bring that up. Obviously, a larger ticket average is going to have a 15% or 20% is going to be more if you got a $50 tab, that's a $10 tip on 20%. If you got a $100 tab, that's a $20 tip. So just basic math there, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, and you have to, and to think about it, it's not even that, just there's a little psychology in it, because when people are tipping, it depends on what the number is. Like, you know, if your check average or your price per person is $15 and you can get it closer, you know, what is somebody going to leave a tip on $15 and somebody's going to leave a tip on 18? You know,
Right.
So there's a little bit of, you know, your percentages go up as your check average goes up.
Just like the marketing rules of, it's $19.99, that's actually less than $20. But if your tip, your check total is $19.99, they're going to look at that like $19. Upsell one thing, you get a $21 tab. That's going to feel like a much bigger, even though it's a dollar and a penny, and you'll tip more on that 20 plus rather than the $19. Yeah, that makes sense.
Exactly.
Too. Yeah, absolutely. So first question, does it come naturally for some people?
I'd say yeah. I know we've talked about this, you know, offline a lot, and I think it does come naturally to some people, but I think it can be trained also.
Sure.
But there are some natural people that just get it.
Sure. I personally think anything can be trained, at least understood. Whether you're good at something or not might be some natural ability, but can something be trained? You could not present me with something that I'd be convinced can't be trained. Now, can upselling be trained? Absolutely. It should easily be understood. And with some practice, people will get better and better at it. Some people are naturally more inclined to talk to others. And I think what's natural about upselling is the fact that some people are more naturally inclined to listen to other people. And I really think that's going to make a big play in an individual's ability to upsell, is their ability to listen. And I think listening can be taught. And once you listen, once you understood what's being told to you, I think you'd be able to make suggestions based on what you've heard and what you've learned about somebody.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, we always have that conversation. We start off with every training with, you were born with 2 ears and 1 mouth, so listen twice as much as you talk. I think I've used that parenting to work. You know, listening is a skill that can be taught, but it's imperative in the service industry. I think listening, body language, including your tone, just, you know, it's not just about what you say, it's how you look when you say it. You can say whatever you want and your face says one thing and your body says something completely different.
Totally agree. So thinking about that, where tone and your body language, everything has a lot to do with the atmosphere that you're creating in the restaurant. Let me ask you this. Would you prefer that a server or bartender upsell with poor technique, like they're not enthusiastic, they're impatient, they're robotic, or would you prefer that they don't even try it at all?
That's a good question. Would I prefer if they're robotic or bad? I guess I might be the wrong person for this. When somebody tries to upsell, I get excited. I'm like, yeah. Before they can finish what they're going to try to upsell me, I say yes, because I just love it in the restaurant. So I'd say poor technique, just because it's a better chance. You might get 1 out of 1,000, but it's still better than not trying at all. right?
I'm 100% with you, because that bad effort, like, at least I'm going to enjoy it, like
Mhm.
laughing at the person who's this robot telling me about the daily specials that they clearly don't care about. And they're like, I'm supposed to say this because my manager's watching. I'm like, good. You should be saying that because your manager's watching, but you don't understand how this could help you or hurt you. In this instance, you're so bad at it, it's going to hurt you, but it's really going to give me some more respect for the management team and the establishment for at least emphasizing the importance of it.
Yeah.
And getting people used to it. Hopefully I can go back to that establishment, because I'll build some rapport beyond this one server's lack of enthusiasm. And maybe 3 weeks, 7 weeks from now, when I go back, I'll see improvement on this person. And now I'm really going to respect that skill that they've been working to develop. Now, if they don't do it all, what kind of impression do you get if they don't do it all?
Oh, they just don't care.
They don't care.
They don't care. I mean, if they don't try to upsell, they don't care about the money they're making, and they really don't care about the establishment. I mean, I don't get it. Like, I sometimes I stand there and just doesn't like, I don't get it, because I have a server who would tell me, is like, oh, the worst thing ever is when they ask me what's my favorite thing on the menu. And I'm like, that to me is like the greatest thing on earth. You can
Gift.
basically drive what the customer is going to eat. You don't have to like go sell the most expensive thing on the menu. That's what I'm saying. But you could, like, you know what's good on the menu. You've eaten it probably a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
So when a customer goes, what do you like? What do you think? I'm like, your light bulb should go off, dollar bills or cash register, whatever it is, should go off, because you can drive the dinner or the lunch. You can drive what that experience the customer is about to have.
What's your favorite thing? I also strongly believe that is not the time for that person, that server, that bartender, to actually answer that question. I don't actually want to know what your favorite thing is, and the amateur server or bartender is actually going to list what their favorite thing is. And I think this speaks to your point, is that's your opportunity to tell them what you want to tell them. And what do you want to tell them? You want to tell them what they want to hear. One of my least favorite things that a server or bartender will do is, if you're looking in the burger section of the menu, you're going through it, you're like, which of these burgers do you recommend? Oh, I don't really eat the burgers. I don't care if you eat the burgers or not. Clearly, I'm asking about the burgers. So what am I in the mood for? A burger. Now's the time to speak to burgers as if it was your favorite thing in the world. I just handed you a giant billboard that says, I'm in the mood for burgers. Why would you not sell me a burger? Why would you start talking about your personal life and your personal taste? Nope. I'm sorry. That customer is there for their experience, not to learn if you enjoy hamburgers or not.
100% agree. I think a big miss in the industry is we don't treat server as salespeople.
Right.
And they are legit salespeople.
Yep.
And you know the good ones. I mean, I work for a big food service company. The good ones, they know how to listen. Like you said, they listen very well. We call it aggressive observation. They're very good at that.
I like aggressive observation. I like that.
And if servers took the same, and some do, don't get me wrong, but in general, we don't train it that way. We don't train them as salespeople. We train them as servers. You know, and I think of them as salespeople. You know, because they're working off of commission that they have direct input on. You know, they it's what they do, and it's instantaneous. It's not like a month later. So, you know, you can usually this is very don't kill me.
Yeah, general statements here. Yeah,
general statement. You usually can tell your best servers by their tip averages they get. You can look at a monthly tip average. If it's all done credit card, and you can say my top 3 servers are going to be the top 3 on percentages, because they listen, they have sale experience, they know how to sell, because they're not just selling themselves, which they are, they're selling the restaurant and the experience. They're selling everything.
Absolutely. So, and you know about making templates, and one template that I use over and over and over is a sales template. Somebody needs sales training. I've got a template to go through on how to build rapport with guests or your customer, how to suggestively sell. so on and so on. If you've been through a sales class, we can teach that over and over. It is the exact same template as upselling. And to your point, you're just a salesperson. You're not looking to share any more personal information than you need to in order to build rapport. What you're trying to do is share a little so that you can learn about the person that you're talking to, so that you can sell them what they're looking for, whether they know that they're looking for it or not. One of my favorite quotes is Henry Ford, and he says the quote, "If I had asked my customers what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse."
Faster horse. Yep.
Yeah,
I
because they
love
don't know
that.
what a car is. And as a server, you need to go in there knowing your menu and knowing what's right for the guest in front of you. And if you just ask them what they're interested in, they don't know. How would they know? How do they know what your specials are? How do they know what good pairings are? How do they know which French fry is best? Oh, I usually like curly fries. Let me go with these. You might have a phenomenal cut fry, but now I'm going to go curly fries when that server's going, that's a bad choice. I don't know. You tell me. You need to sell
Yeah.
it to me.
Absolutely. I mean, the only time that there's a little bit of a gray area is with the bar. I think in the bar, we do build a little bit more. We build on relationships.
Sure.
You know, I think it's a little bit more relational based. And then they do want to know a little bit of personal information. But in general, I don't care if you don't like burgers. I want a burger. You tell me
Right.
you've been here working here a while. You should know, or even not a while, you should still know what we're known for. Because if and that comes from management being trained, you need to know that stuff. And, you know, we always say you need to be an expert in three things. You need to be expert in the menu. You need to be expert, menu, the guest, and the team, which is the restaurant.
Sure. Absolutely. And I agree with you that the bar tends to be a little bit more personal in getting to know somebody and building that rapport. And I think you're going to see some more professionalism there when somebody asks a bartender, especially a seasoned bartender, hey, which of these burgers do you like? And the bartender who's going to share that, oh, I don't really like those, isn't going to end that conversation there. But for you, I'd really suggest looking at this burger or this burger. You mentioned bacon earlier. This one's loaded with bacon and cheese, and I think you'll really like that. That yes, they answered the question of, oh, I don't really like burgers, but they immediately turn it around and talk to the guest about what they would like, versus the server that says, hey, which of these burgers do you like? Oh, I don't eat the burgers, and leaving it there. So that's where volunteering that personal information is fine. You still need to stick to the goal and the plan of helping that guest find what they need. So let's go through some bad upselling. What are some examples that you can think of from bad upselling? What is it that makes you laugh? Even though we both agreed, at least they're giving it an effort. But what's some bad upselling look like?
I've actually had servers go, my manager makes me say this, and then reads this like thing. I'm like, do I know you're mad at him, but or her? Do you need to just bring that to my table? Like,
yeah. Don't throw your manager under the bus because you don't understand the bigger picture. Yeah.
No, I really just on being unprepared. That to me is probably the worst upselling technique, when they're just kind of, it's just they don't have, if they give me an upsell, they don't have an answer for it.
Or
would you like to make this? Would you like to make this a top shelf margarita? I would love to. What tequila do you have?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And then I literally have to list them because I know tequila.
Yeah.
Surprise, surprise.
It's literally the only follow-up question. Would you like to upgrade your margarita to top shelf? Cool. What are your top shelf tequilas? Oh, I don't know. Well, don't ask that question if you're not prepared for it. That's crazy.
Exactly.
One that I think just this classic bad upselling is interrupting the guest that's trying to talk. Like they're looking through the menu and they're asking about appetizers, they're asking about burgers, and they're like, well, let me tell you about the specials real quick. Like, tell them about what they want to hear. Like, listen to what the guest is telling you, and you're sitting there like, I have to say this, I have to say this, I have to say this. Like, no, you have to listen to your guest. It's just crazy to me how they don't listen, to the point where they don't even notice that someone else is talking because they have to say the thing that they have to say.
Oh yeah, that's the that's the difference between the hard skill and the soft skill. You know, that we run into all the time. You know, it's, and I think that a lot of that is training. You know, I mean, come on, if you go to a corporate restaurant, and corporations do this well, it takes a week to get on the floor. I mean, used to, I don't know what it is. I haven't worked at a corporation in a long time, but you know, it takes a week to get on the floor. You know, you have to take tests. You got to be an expert in the menu. You got to know all the mods. You got to know what you have. What do you have in house? What do you stock? What do you don't have? You know, your techniques, your service, you know, your steps of service, because everybody does it a little bit differently. You know, a lot of these small places, it's like, all right, they bring them in. It's like, can you start today? Yep. They're waiting tables at night. You know, and I've had people say, it's my first day. I'm like, oh,
where's your trainer? Where's, yeah.
But again, but I understand in this climate, you know, even before COVID, it was tough. I mean, it was hard to find people, and, you know, harder than it used to be. You know, it's a lot, and it's not easy. And sometimes it's just, and the worst thing I hate is people are like, well, I just need a body. Well, that's like the worst.
The worst. I just need somebody on the schedule. I'm like, that's going to ruin your customer experience. I don't know what you think you're going to get out of it, unless you're just justifying, oh, I have a schedule that's complete. I'm like, oh man. I've seen servers that are phenomenal, good personality, and can run 3 sections at one time and interact with guests. I've also seen servers that can't handle 2 tables, and the guests were being normal. So you're saying that, oh, well, I've got to write the schedule. I'm like, no, you need to make sure that you have the right people in the right place in order to take care of your restaurant. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. We talked about what bad upselling looks like. What do you think good upselling looks like? Good salesmanship?
I think knowing the menu and making it kind of like, you know, you say we don't want to get personal, but leading off of experience, you know, of like, hey, the customers love this, or, you know, we sell out of this, you know, saying, you know, there are some stars that, you know, and when I say know the menu, you need to know, if my staff doesn't know what is my best profit margin on my menu, that's a fail as a manager or as an owner. Your staff needs to know that. They're the ones selling it. Like, why do you hide that? Like, that to me is insanity. You know, you need to know the profit margin on stuff. Hey, this is our star. It is not a high food cost. It's easy to produce in the kitchen, and it makes us a lot of money. And it's good and it's wonderful. Like, sell that. It doesn't need to be the most expensive thing on the menu, but if it's a star, let's rock that. And I think that sometimes is missed in the upselling game, I guess, is the communication from ownership or leadership to the sales force or the server on, hey, these are the ones that we're not going to push the fish because it's Monday and it got here on Thursday, you know, but this is the, you know, whatever it is, the seafood stew is awesome. You know, I think going off of experience, knowing the menu and making it natural, you know, not almost like you don't care, but like, you know, it's good. You know, I think the confidence behind the upsell is sometimes, or the excitement when you see their eyes get bright. I mean, that to me is what I love to see. When I see a server just get excited about, hey, you need to pair this beer with this. It is that good.
I've worked with a company for a long time and really worked on that part of the excitement aspect of it, the team building and the love for the company. And really, truly, 3 weeks of training, they did a great job of making sure that this new employee loved their job. But in 3 weeks of training, they had 1 day of menu, 1 day where they would spend time with the chef, 1 day where they went over the menu, and they didn't menu test either, because the culture was the only thing that mattered. And it was no shock at all when they would get out on the floor. People loved the atmosphere, loved going in there, had a great time, but then ask any question about the menu, blank stares. Almost to the point where you had to change the subject because they didn't know what was going on with the menu. Food items turned up wrong. All the Yelp reviews were about bad food service, incorrect items because the server didn't know what was right or wrong when it arrived to the table because they didn't know it was supposed to come with this or this. And it was incredible how you could spend so much time talking about love for the company, but then the the food was not part of the training, and it just hurt my feelings that that was not a priority. And I really, truly, from a training standpoint, think that you can do both. You can get them excited about the food, excited about what's going on in the menu, excited about upselling guests, and take that same enthusiasm about brand and make it about the guest and make it about the food and the experience that they're having. And I think that passion is going to come out and really help the guest experience, help that check average, and help the business thrive.
Absolutely. They are the salespeople, the server is the last check before that food touches.
Oh my goodness. And if they don't know, sorry.
I mean, usually like a quality assurance is your most trained person in your established, your manufacturing plant, right? The person that's the last person looking at that is probably the highest trained person. And yet you're just going to throw something on the floor that doesn't have that experience. Yet you expect them to upsell and do both. I mean, like to me, you need to upsell. You need to know the menu, drink menu, and your food menu. That's why people go out. People, we always say we've talked about this. Culture is very important.
Sure.
In hiring, retaining, training, everything, highly important. As important, knowing the damn menu. Because guess what? Why do people go to restaurants?
To eat. If they were just there for the atmosphere, they'd go to a club.
Yeah. I mean, they want the experience, don't get me wrong, but they still want to eat.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, we're putting them equal. No, I hear you. Absolutely. Loud and clear. But if you put one way over the other, this may as well be a nightclub. If you put food over culture, you may as well just have takeout. Like if you want people to go there, enjoy the atmosphere and the food, you've got to make sure that those two things are emphasized and taught and celebrated when it's done right.
Absolutely.
So you talk about the sales force, that front line, and I love it because that's the exact same place that I am thinking about what your server and your bartender are. Just call them a salesperson. Why not? Let's talk about the techniques that they need to use to get into proper sales. And I'll start off because we keep talking about this personalization. And I think at the beginning of this, I talked about the guest doesn't want to get too personal. And one, I mean that. The guest doesn't care about your home life. But two, you got to know how to share things in the right light and the right atmosphere to be able to introduce them to what they're going to like. So I do think personalization is extremely important. And I think some of that personalization doesn't have to be your private life, but it can be something that you can associate and you can relate to that guest that you're talking to so that you can get to know them. And is it a little sleight of hand? Is it a little incentivized so that you can upsell? Yeah, it is. You're trying to get to know your guests. And as somebody who loves going and sitting at bars and going to restaurants, get to know me, not because I want you to know my personal beliefs or lifestyle, but I want you to get the most out of my experience for me. Guide me through this experience. So that's get to know you. Yeah. So techniques on upselling, and I just ran all over that one. Sorry.
No, it's funny because when we first started this, I thought we would disagree on a lot of stuff, and we'd actually agree on a lot. Believe it or not, we agree on a lot of stuff. You know, again, you know how I live. I live in my 3 pillars, right? So it's be descriptive, be suggestive, and be you.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's the same thing. That's be you to a point because we talked about this in the culture part. The owner and the server and the customer kind of bleed the same almost culture. They do. They feel the same thing. They want to be part of something, right? But be you is people want to see you. If you're a little bit wound up and you're a little bit hyper, people are okay with that. If you're just kind of chill, people are okay with that too. Don't try to, because when you try to force something that you're not, it's really uncomfortable for the guest. It really is. Just be you. And again, I don't need to know your religious your religious affiliation or your blood type, but unless I'm looking for a kidney.
I'm going to go back to techniques since you're talking about your kidney donation. I think one of the biggest techniques that we can use is a fear of missing out. And we see it all the time with countdowns on QVC. We see it all the time with limited number of tickets or something to a concert or seats available or whatever it might be. And in the restaurant industry, we have LTOs, and I don't mean
Mhm.
lettuce, tomato, onion. I mean limited time offers, and it's your seasonal menu. And I wish more servers and bartenders would use even that title to their advantage. We've got a limited time offer. This is
Yeah.
a seasonal menu. This will run out, because they're there every day, but your guests are there on average, what, 2.5 times a year, 1.5 times a year? They're not going to be there as long as this menu is going to be there. Let them know that this is just a summer sale. They're going to go
Yeah.
for it. It's a limited time offer. Why aren't we using that title that we use in marketing for our service up front? And I just think that's something we miss out on all the time, is literally something that we call an LTO. Turn that
Yeah.
into a sales technique.
Absolutely. I mean, it's in my notes. Use urgency, FOMO.
Yeah.
All the way. I think another one to go along with that is the good, better, best technique.
Okay.
Never say, subpar or poor. Just this is good. Then we got better, and then this is the best.
I like
and
that.
most people land in the middle, which is okay, but it's still an upsell.
What do you think about this burger? Oh, that burger's good. Better than that would be to add cheese or this to it, but best, and I'm sorry to take you off the page, just to go over here and look at this burger. I complimented your choice, I upsold you on it, and then I offered you something completely over here based on listening to you. I like that. Good, better, best. That's solid.
People like options, to a point, because
right.
The average person spends 109 seconds on a menu. So that's why you got to give them no more than 3 options, make it simple, just so people can make a very quick decision. Because if they was this, you also still want to keep it moving, right? You don't want to, stand there for 2 days.
Yeah. And again, you got to listen to them. And if they come in and they go, man, I'm in the mood for wings, you stick to the page with wings and wing options. You don't try to go sell them a salad, even if that's the daily special. This guest just said wings. I don't care who's pushing the salad. This guest doesn't want it. Stick to what you've got going on. So as a management team, what would you suggest to keep the spirit of upselling alive beyond the initial training of a new employee?
The number one thing is playing. We played games.
Okay.
Loved it. If it was server bingo, there's so many games out there. You probably played hundreds of them. I like the game stuff. I think it is motivation. You throw $100 gift card. You could probably upsell $500, and then in a night if you do it right, depending on your establishment. But we had all sorts of stuff. You got a day off. You got gift card. You got payday.
Manager works for you. Manager works your section. Manager runs your food. Yeah.
Something. There's 1,000 things you can do. It just depends on where you are, what your establishment's like. But that was one of the one things I used the most. But then it's just the numbers. Like one of our training classes that we did, and it took 5 minutes, and it was a pre-shift thing, and we just showed them the numbers, the legit numbers of just, hey, you upsell, you add, what was it? Something was $2. Oh, it was real maple syrup. It was actually a breakfast place. So we upsell to real Maine maple syrup. Or it might have been in Vermont. I don't remember where it was.
Maple
but anyway,
syrup.
Maple syrup. It was $2 more. And we just did the math over. Not only did we did it over a week, we did it for a whole year, and then about roughly how many shifts they work. I mean, we got to the point where you did it. If you upsell, I think it was like 1 a day. I don't remember the exact numbers, but we were like, this is what you could buy with it. It was like a phone or something, like an iPhone. It was like it was like $1,000 or $800. I don't remember the exact numbers. I have to look it up. But if you show them the exact math, saying you just do this once a day, and you get, you might only get 10%, but if you do it to, if you have 100 guests and you do it and you only get 10%, that means 10 guests get the real maple syrup, and you do this over a week and then over a month, and then you saw the numbers. It's like, this is what you could get with it. And then it kind of clicked, like, oh crap, $2 could add a lot more tip, a lot more this, a lot more that, especially if your check average is $12, $13 and you get to $16, $15. It's a big deal. It adds up. People tip differently from 13 to 15. They do.
Absolutely. I love it. And I love that you bring the games into it and the knowledge behind it. And I think beyond the initial training that you should be giving to your staff about the importance of it is not extending training, because everybody's like, oh, I need new training. I need new training. I really, from a training perspective, think that you need to build a culture and an atmosphere that helps people upsell. And creating games like that, creating reward like that, creating motivation like that, creates an atmosphere where it's encouraged to upsell. And then the training is every day. There shouldn't be a sudden, okay, we've got an upselling week of training. Like that tells me that you don't have it built into your management conversations during pre-shift. Your owners aren't worried about it. They're probably just complaining about it. And your staff doesn't feel the importance of it if it's not built into your culture. You've got to work on the culture and the atmosphere so that it's a comfortable place for upselling. Because if they don't do it and then suddenly you go, guys, you have to do it, we're going to go back to the beginning of this conversation where we have robotic people basically telling you what the daily specials are and not listening to what's going on. And I really think it's important to create an upselling atmosphere. And a lot of that is just the same way we're telling our servers, our frontline salespeople to get to know the guests. You as a management team have to get to know your servers, whether you like them or not, whether you think that they're a number on your schedule or not, whether you really enjoy them or not, get to know them so you can find out what makes them tick and find out how to help them better upsell within your establishment.
Absolutely. Like I said, the three, you got to be expert in the menu, your guest, and the team. And that goes for management also.
So final question. Is this really a big deal? I know it's our topic, so it's like 100% what we're talking about, but is this really a big deal? Is this what restaurants need to focus on?
Yes. Very big deal.
I totally agree. Yeah.
I mean, we talk, and like, I feel like a broken record. There's only two ways to make more money in a restaurant, to build sales: butts in a seat and check average.
Check average, butts in a seat.
This is a direct link to check average. If somebody says, I have enough butts in my seat, I can't fit any more people in this restaurant, you got to build check average. Well, how do you do that? The number one way to do that is upselling.
Upselling. Got to do it.
Yep.
Cool.
Because upselling is less of a, it's not easier to train. It's not easy to train at all, but it's easier than actually reprinting all your menus and raising your prices.
Absolutely. And you said it's not easy to train, but I do think once you have that momentum within your culture, within your atmosphere, it's easy to ride that momentum. Like you've got it going, like let it go. You've started celebrating. Your staff will start celebrating with each other. Great upsell on that. They'll start bragging about it and you'll see the results over and over. But you as a management team, as ownership, you need to get that going. And I hope that that's the big takeaway from this is, yes, we've talked about some tips and some techniques on upselling. Yes, we've been able to laugh at some of the things that we've seen, but at the same time, and I love that we agree on this, at least they're giving an effort, and that's going to lead to better sales in the end. If you've got your robotic server who's at least giving it an effort rather than no effort at all. And I think that's extremely important to celebrate from a guest perspective, as well as a ownership or a training perspective. Anything you want to add into our segment before we get out of here?
No, I think that we've covered pretty much, I mean, we didn't get into a lot of techniques, but I think that just depends on your restaurant. I mean, it just,
sure.
If you're high end, low end, how many servers you have. I mean, it's just, I think being creative and letting your staff be creative and let them come up with ideas. The craziest thing is when you stick all your staff in a room and you say, what do you do for your upsell techniques? And each one says something, and you can see the other servers look around like, I never even thought about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That to me is, like a little brain shark of it, like just almost internal training the trainer kind of thing is very, very underutilized. I think, I don't expect my managers to know every single technique. And some of them, a lot of these servers, a lot of your salespeople, they might not know the name of the technique, but this is what they do.
Sure.
But they've never told anybody else about it. Or they had only told their friend. So I think getting everybody in a room and going through each one and say, what do you use? And have them tell you. And because they're on the front lines, you are not. A manager is not training every day in front of a customer on the menu. They're dealing with putting out fires. That's pretty much most of their job, unfortunately. And I think using your staff as trainers is underutilized.
Love it. So Paul and I would love to hear from you on what tips and techniques that you have, or ask us questions. And he said that we didn't get into a lot of techniques here, and we'd love to follow up with you and your business to try to help you if we could, if you're looking for consulting on this, whether it's from a training standpoint or for Paul from a number standpoint. Like, what can you do to improve and upsell and get that little dollar here and there that's going to add up to big dollars in end? Leave us comments, suggestions, ask questions, and we'd be happy to follow up with it. Make sure you follow the channel. Give us a like, give us a comment, fire back. What did you like about this? What did you not? And we'll keep coming back with more strategies and insights. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.